Hi, how are you all? Looks like we're finally live, and I'm going to press this fun button over on the left here that sends the broadcast to Facebook Live. See how that actually works. In the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them into the Q&A, and I'll get to the unboxing in just a second. And thank you to the 4 people who showed up to see this. All right. This is going live, and it's the first time I've done Facebook Live as well. So, you know, fingers crossed that this works. And then I promise I will jump straight in to Lucidity. Okay, that's pretty much as set up as I can get it. So, you're all here to see the game, and this is what arrived in the mail a couple of days ago. That's the Deluxe box. So it comes with both the Deluxe components and the main game. So that's all in a nice little sleeve. And family friendly on the side. So I'm going to open up the standard box and show you what you end up getting in there. And as I'm going to go through, I've gotten this instruction from LongPack Games. And so what I'm going to do is go through each of these steps as I'm pulling out the components and checking them off, seeing what's working, what's not, if there are any problems, which fingers crossed there aren't, because that might delay things a little bit longer. I'll be going through this. So here it is. There's the game. Everything on the side. Move my hand out of the way. You don't want to see that. And now this is pressing up a little bit. I will actually mention that I have actually opened this box to have a quick look in. I couldn't help myself. So I should be able to explain a couple of things along the way and point out some things that I've already found. So for instance, this is going to be properly closed. There's just some extra components in there that are pushing it up. Anyway, there's the back. You've all seen that though. What you can't really see with this resolution, I'll see if I can get that to shimmer, is the very nice linen print that it has on. I tried to make my own copy of this box and it did not work out too well. So I am super happy to see that this one is looking absolutely perfect. And I'll just open this up. I might tick this down so that you can all see the box as I open it. All right, I've already lost pieces. So when you open it up, rulebook in there. We have the 4 art prints. So thank you to everyone who voted on those. As a result, we ended up with this Primeval Fear instead of the wolf. And Envy. Now, just checking the back of these, each of these has a tiny print on it. Just trying to keep this looking as, I guess, artistic as possible. So you have the little sort of artistic stamp there, and then the name of the art on the other side. So you can put this up on your wall, frame it, or just use it as kindling, really, if you prefer. One thing that I did notice was that that one, first of all, has a white line going down the side, which means that the crop didn't quite cut off at the right point. And I'll need to go back to LongPack and ask them to shift it over or increase the bleed on it, because the last thing you want on your art print is a nice white line right down the side. So this is mirrored for me, so it's a bit back and forward. The other thing is that that is not the Nightmare of Primeval Fear. That's the depths. And if you look at Primeval Fear, you have exactly the same thing on the other side. Wrong one. I will say that I'm going to try and save this video and put it up on YouTube after, so if you do have to leave partway through, you should be able to watch it there. And I think it's available for the next 48 hours on Kickstarter as well. Okay, so the next part actually comes in two pieces, because LongPack did not print the Dreamer cards directly on the cards. So instead I have these material cards, which have the same sort of floppiness that you'll find in the game. And I have the Dreamer cards. All four of those are the same, but on the other side, of course, anyone who's followed the campaign will know that there is a solo mode. And so flipping those over to the other side, there they are. Now, I know LongPack sent me an email saying, oh, we're so worried because it's actually upside down, which I was a bit worried at first. But actually holding this in my hand, flipping it on the long side, makes a lot more sense. So I think I might actually ask them to keep it exactly as they've done it. Also, by the way, if you do want to stop me at any time and ask to see any components again, then I mean, the chat's there. Feel free to drop a question. Oh, hi, Melissa, over in the Facebook group. And Christopher, thanks for jumping on and saying hi. If you jump over onto the actual Kickstarter chat, if you want to ask any questions, because I probably won't be checking the Facebook group as much as Kickstarter. Right, so white cards, you've seen that. Okay, now you of course have the inside of the box. It comes with 80 dice. There's a lot of dice to fit inside there. And you can see in here the bag, which I am super happy with. Strangely, they gave me a velvet bag, even though they said, well, it feels velvet anyways, who knows. Even though they said that it was cotton and that the screen print wouldn't work on it. So that's all right. We got a bonus upgrade from that. So this is a black screen print on a black bag, but because of the difference in textures, you can see that it sort of shimmers nicely in the reflection. And so it has a bit of a subtle, well, less subtle than I thought it would be, but looks really, really good, I think. And that is the right size to fit your hand in. Fits all the dice in there. And when it's nice and sealed up, then you can still see the symbol. Happy about that one. The inside of the box has the FAQ printed there. So has a whole bunch of different things on there. Now, I did put overlooked rules on the inside of the box, and I've sort of realized that a lot of the overlooked rules, I probably could have left that off and just said FAQ, but oh well. that's done now. That is so that as soon as you open up the box, then you see the FAQ, which is something I got from one of the Gamelin games, where they do the same thing, which is just brilliant. I'm very happy to say that the glass counters that I bought from the dollar store to put into the reviewer copies are exactly the same as the glass counters that you will get in the game. These are the ones that magnify the numbers that are underneath them, and that kind of make the eye look a bit weird when you actually sit them on top, so excellent. And the inside of the box, which has a cool sort of, I mean, if you've been watching Stranger Things, this will probably give you nightmares. And when you open that up and take the insert out, though why would anyone take an insert out? You have yourself a nice dice box to roll your dice in. The way that Stephanie put this together looks great, I think. I hope you agree. I'm going to put this back in just for the moment and show you the Nightmare cards. All right, so once again, these ones have the same problem, well, not problem, but the same printing as the Dreamer cards. So I have a nice box full of white cards with linen print, and a couple of super floppy Nightmare cards, which just show what they look like and what sides are on what. So the standard for Nightmares that you have already seen in every preview and everything that's gone on. But on the other side, here are the other Nightmares. Can't really see the colors very well on this because my lighting is less than perfect. But they are very nice, very rich. Carries across exactly the same theme and color as on the other side. The text is also a little bit larger than what I had on the reviewer copies, so I think it should be much easier to read than before. There is that one. And the Nightmare of Primeval Fear. Nightmare of Temptation. And the red side. And of course, you get 4 summary cards in there. So the same summary, well, a little bit different in the summary than I had in the reviewer copies. Most importantly, I've added this line. You may spend 1 or 2 to reroll unresolved dreams, because that is one of those overlooked rules that I wanted to highlight. And on the other side of these cards, it lists what is on each of the dice faces and a little bit of fluff text to give you an idea of what's behind each of the Nightmares. So these are a little bit floppy. The actual card feels not a lot thicker, to be honest. I do have some of their 310 black core. This is before they switched over the card stock, just to compare the two. And it actually does look pretty similar on the side. It's kind of hard to tell, especially through a webcam, I imagine. But it's definitely the same material, so it could, I'm not really sure what's going on there. But I am going to actually ask them about this, because it's a little bit floppier than I would have liked, especially because it's supposed to be 315 GSM. which is an extra 5 grams heavier than their sample stock, which seems a lot stiffer. But that is probably incredibly boring to you, so I'm going to skip past that. Okay, so that's the standard components. The only thing that I really want to make note of is the card quality. I'm just writing myself a note here so I can get back to them later. So the other thing is that on the inside here, the box insert that they gave, as you saw, didn't quite fit everything. So what they've also given me are these white inserts, which correct this one and fit all of the components back in much nicer. To be honest, it's going to take me a little bit of time to squeeze this back in. You'll have to trust me that it actually does fit and work. So I'm going to put that to the side. Otherwise, we're just going to spend all the time on this looking at squeezing an insert back into the box. Instead, I'm going to jump on and show you my absolute favorite component in everything that they have done, which is the Deluxe box. And it's hard to tell, but this material is that soft touch that you'll find on makeup boxes, which is very nice to hold on to. And it makes that matte versus gloss sort of look extra conspicuous, which, you know, when you reflect anything on it, looks amazing, I think. Each of the sides has one of the nightmares on it. Here. Of course, it does mean that the outside of the box, as people look at it, are going to see a giant waste of space. So ugly, but I'm hoping that that doesn't turn them off buying it. There's the Nightmare of the Depths on that side, and Nightmare of Primeval Fear on that side. And of course, the back is the Bone Hunters art with a little bit of a quote on it, but I'm going to hold that off for now, and you will see that when you get the box. That quote was an inspiration for Lucidity, so I want to drop that down there. And it is in the public domain, so no copyright problems there. Okay, so opening up that box, I'll just slide that open. And the first thing that you will see when you open up the Deluxe box is a giant stop sign that says, "Stop, read pages 1 and 2 before playing." So anybody opening up this box and thinking that this is where they'll find the game will be sent to the other box and told that if they want the family-friendly things, they can swap that side, the normal ones for the family-friendly ones. And if they want the neoprene, do the same. It also explains solo mode and tells people not to throw out their standard cards, because that's where solo mode appears, and we wouldn't want people to toss that and then find out that they've just thrown out their solo mode. I will flick through this very quickly. There's a very beautiful picture of the kid-friendly thing there. I've added some fluff through it, which really you should be able to jump onto Board Game Geek, or actually it's not up there yet, but you should be able to jump on to the Deluxe rules. I think it was in one of the updates, and read all the text there. Because at the back here, I have added a slightly edited, slightly rewritten version of the Choose Your Own Adventure that you all helped write through voting for the stretch goals. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a reminder of the campaign, and thanks for voting in it as well. Okay, now the neoprene mats. I like that. Nice and wobbly. You can scrunch them up, open them up, and they remain fine. So they're a little bit thin, but they are rubber. So unless your kids are really, really dedicated to tearing these things apart, they should last with a little bit of wear. I will say that it looks like some of the grays and blacks have bled into the whites. So where you can read it, hold that up, it is very difficult to read. So you probably need to be familiar with the rules. You can read it, that's fine. And from a distance, it actually looks better than from up close. But I will warn you that the whites are not quite as sharp white as the card does. But I suspect that may just be a function of printing on neoprene. So I will ask LongPack about it, but I suspect it's something we're just going to have to live with. So moving through those. And here are the neoprene mats for the normal cards. I know it was brought up that the picture that I supplied was slashed down the side. Yeah, that was just a Photoshop. So as you can see, the mats are whole. Scrunch them up, they're fine. So you can wrap them all up. You can actually roll them and put them all into the bag with the dice, and you should be able to carry around the game in its bag. That's the hope anyway. Now, something that I've been really looking forward to showing you is the overlay. It came out amazingly. It cost a lot of money to make. The mold for this one is about $1,600, and I think it's worth it. I'm glad that the overlay, that it worked, and I'm glad that I have the mold now so I can reprint this, and I may be able to sell it separately to try and get some of the costs back, depending on how successful the game is. But what you will all be happy to see is that it actually fits perfectly over each of the dice. And when you actually have, it's kind of hard to show, hang on, let me get some room in front of me here. I'll throw a family-friendly one down as well, you can see how that works. It actually has a tiny ridge underneath as well, so it sort of fits nicely, and you won't find it sliding off when you have it on top of your stuff. I'm so happy about that. And I'm just going to tip this down, see if you can see this. Yeah, that's good enough. When you have the dice, where are my dice? Then they fit nicely in each of the slots. So even if you come along and you accidentally, okay, if you hold it on an angle, then it'll knock them off. But bump the table, it'll hold everything in place. You don't have to worry about having to reset your entire game just because somebody came along and knocked on the table a little bit too hard. So you get 4 of those overlays in the box. LongPack only sent me 2, so I'm going to have to double check with them that they know to actually put 4 in there. But that is, I suspect, some people's favorite part of the box. I know that those people who wanted overlays really, really wanted overlays, and those who didn't care really, really didn't care. So we'll see. I think you'll enjoy it anyway. And I did check that overlay. Where is it? Ooh. Does fit the cards in there perfectly as well. Ah, that's a double. You don't want that reflection. Okay, so continuing. I forgot that we hadn't actually finished all of the stuff. I got a little bit distracted with the overlay there. Yeah, Daniel, it's certainly a deluxe box. To anyone who doesn't know about sort of pricing on how it's recommended that you price your retail stuff, they always say that the cost that you make a game. Oh, okay. That echo shouldn't be me, Gregory. Sorry. I do have my computer on silent. Sorry. Yeah. So the cost that you make your game, plus the cost of actually shipping it to different countries, is you normally multiply by about 5 to get to the cost that you should sell it in stores. That deluxe, well, Lucidity is about ×5. But of course, you're all getting free shipping, so I'm not quite getting all of that. But the deluxe is about ×3, I think, just because of the amount of stuff that we stuffed into it. So it will go to retail in some countries where they've bought the distribution for it, mostly Australia. But it probably won't see a reprint, which means it's limited in a way, which is kind of sad because that box is amazing. But that's that. Chris, in terms of pre-orders, I'm not taking pre-orders anymore. The Pledge Manager is completely closed now. But it is getting distributed to retail. So depending on your country, if you go to your local gaming store and ask if they're getting any copies, then that means that they'll be able to go to their distributor, ask for copies, and then the distributor will be coming to me for a copy. Yeah, so in the US, Renegade is publishing and also distributing. Thank you. Thanks. Red Genie Games, by the way, that's Alex Winter from The Brigade, another amazing Australian Kickstarter. And thanks, Daniel. Yeah, it's been pretty amazing. They also have the ability, or the contractual ability to do expansions for it if they want to do things like Bone Hunters, but that's something you'll have to hassle them about. In the UK, it's getting distributed by Asdevium, and in Australia, it's getting distributed by both Let's Play Games and Ventura. So it doesn't really matter where you are; you should be able to get a copy. In terms of the expansions that are in the box, then that should be a fairly easy one for anyone publishing an expansion to produce. In terms of any other expansions to the game world, or expansions like more nightmares or things like that, I haven't really thought of that right now. But if there is another expansion, then I will be involved in that. Yeah, so I've only licensed out the the ability to publish the game in its form, not the game world or anything like that. But this isn't my last game, so I will I will be doing one. I want to make sure that the game is good before I publish it, and I have about 4 at the moment that I'm looking at and seeing which one to invest all of my time into next. Before I get distracted, continuing on with this deluxe box, you of course get your 8 additional dice, and you also get the Bone Hunter's dice. These ones, I want to go back to LongPack and ask them to change the color on a little bit. I thought that they would be a nice ivory color. They look kind of like dirt, really. I don't mean dirt as in an insulting way, but they actually look like they're made of mud, which is cool in a way, but it's not quite the bone sort of feeling that I was going for. So I think I need to do more of like like really ancient cracked bones, which is cool, but also doesn't quite work with the texture, like the resiny sort of texture that they have. It looks kind of like a glow in the dark plastic, but when it's lost all of its glow, and it just looks kind of poopy, really. So I'd like to add a bit more white to the main color, and I think that'll also make the red stand out more. So that is not back to the drawing board, but the next samples will be a lot lighter than the 25 that I got from LongPack. The next thing, once again, white card. It's a little bit too flexible, I think, for my liking, so I need to go back to them and ask them to thicken it up if possible. If not, it's probably a bit too late in the process to completely change paper, and this is their highest stock, so we may have to live with that. But it shouldn't. It has a what's it called? Crosshatch linen sort of print on it, but I have checked it in card sleeves as well, and it's just fine, and actually works really nicely in Tyro card sleeves. All right, so here are the family-friendly cards which have come in. So on one side, you have the actual nightmares, so like Primeval Fear, all the same text as the normal nightmares have. And apart from Temptation, which is double-sided by necessity, the others all have, well, they sort of function like art prints on the other side. A bit like an expanded art card. So if you're not using them, then you may still be able to use them as art prints. Just very thick ones, I guess. And you also get your Bone Hunter's card, which has a summary of the rules on the back. So if you forget how to use them mid-game, all you have to do is flip it over, have a look. It has very, very detailed rules, so it's pretty much everything that you will find in the rule book. And the reason why I put all of these rules on the back is so that if I do an expansion, then I can just put something like this in a blister pack with a set of 8 dice in there and sell it like that. I don't have to go back to the back to my designer and have her completely redesign everything. Okay, and the last thing that you get apart from the inside, which is black and white on this one because I wanted absolutely no color involved in the actual box. So that one is gray on the inside. But you also get your Dreamscapes and Manifestations cards. Hi, Alexander from Brazil. Okay, so in here you have, what do we have here? 10 Dreamscapes cards. With all of the things on the other side. And I did also, I'll flick through these, I did use some of the names that were dropped into the update comments. So if you see yours there, then thank you very much for the idea. I think that's it. Hang on, I keep going through. There's so many of these, I keep forgetting about that. And the other ones are the Manifestations cards. So on the other side there, you have a whole bunch of them. You have your teddy bear. Now these are all things that you manifest within the dream world to give you a bit of extra help against the nightmares. Meditation, always helpful. Peaceful dreams, which is a bit of a throw off of the eye that is on the front cover. A dream catcher, of course. This one's a bit weird, but mind over matter. I've actually seen a tattoo similar to this many, many times. So I thought, well, you know what? I really need to have one of those within the dream world. Birds of a feather, which has the birds sort of flickering out from the feather. Always helpful to help you in the night is a sip of coffee. To help you escape from the hunting nightmares, you can create an inner landscape to hide in. You can have a spirit guardian help you along the way. I may have snuck my cat into this game. And to help you fight against the nightmares, here is the Nightmare Bane. This is kind of a weird one, but it pretty much means every time a nightmare tries to steal points from you, then you can actually try and kill them. I have questions in the Q&A. Hang on a second. Do I have the ink drop dice to show you? Yes, I do. I do not have the new ink drop dice, like the recolored green ones, or the yellow ones. But I do have all of the rest. Where did I put them? There they are. All right, here's a big bag of them. This is how I got them from LongPack, just in a nice bag with my name on it. They were kind enough to actually come to PAX Australia and bring them with them so that they could show me, which was very, very nice of them. I'm not sure how well this is going to come across with the webcam, but I will try and show you that you end up getting this really neat ripple effect that looks exactly like a cloud or some ink has been dropped into water, and I'll show you a different color as well. The blues look absolutely perfect. The reds look super cool when you look at them up close, and they're pink when you look at them from a distance, which is this like blood in the water sort of effect, which looks great. It does mean that you'll end up with some pink dice. They're all very, very different, and the level, so like you saw that red was very, very heavy in its color, whereas others might be more like that, which is almost colorless. However, I was very pleased to see that even the ones that are the most colorless like this, you can still definitely tell what color they are, just because the way that the dice look a little bit like glass almost means that even from a distance it reflects and refracts all of the color inside it. So there doesn't seem to be any difficulty about pulling out a dice and not knowing what color it is. Let me see if I can pull out a yellow one. Of course, because of that, that means that the lighter colors like yellow are almost entirely from a distance yellow in color, even though they do have internal color changes. And the green, and keep in mind that these green are going to be changed in color to a darker green, because these greens looked almost yellow in the way that they worked. It's kind of hard to show you there. There you go. You can see that. Yeah. So those are the ink drop dice. Yeah, Melissa, it's more like if you look at these ones, if the current ones are like that sort of green, the new ones are more like that sort of green. So it's still within the card, and it's still definitely visible as a green dice. It's just not going to be as, yeah, exactly, less lime, more emerald. The final dice colors are, once again, going to be difficult to show you in a webcam, but these are the final, these are the final colors here. So they are all very distinct from each other. The symbols, as you can see, are a lot bigger on these newer dice, whereas the ink drop dice still have the same size as the samples. So they're a little bit smaller and finer, which I think is good actually, because it gives you a lot more chance to see the swirly effect within the dice. And the Bone Hunter dice, possibly because they're resin, are the smaller scale as well. Right. That is, well, that's all the components, yeah. The inside of the deluxe box, if you pull that out, it actually just is just black. That was an accident. Originally, I'd ordered them just to be unfinished inside, just brown, like you'd find in a normal game box. LongPack accidentally thought that I meant that I wanted it to be finished inside black. By the time I'd paid for it, I thought, you know what, it's going to look better that way anyways, and I've spent so much on this box, I kind of want to make sure that it's absolutely perfect in every way. So I've left that. And yes, you'll see that, and you can always keep the insert in there, or switch the insert between your standard and deluxe if you do prefer a little more color on your inserts there. Yeah, so that's everything. If you have any questions for me, then let me know. I see. So Alex is just trying to promote 2 other games that I've had a little bit of involvement in, which is, yeah, you should definitely follow this link. Unstable is the most ridiculous game that we have ever created. So if any of you were at PAX Australia and came to our panel, then thank you. If not, then I will. That panel is going to be, the audio will be online pretty soon on a podcast called Dice Hard, and I will link to that podcast when it comes out in one of the updates. What we did was had an audience of about 150 people shouting out suggestions, and we turned it all into a board game, which ended up being a board game about psychic aristocratic cyberpunk horses in a post-apocalyptic world, trying to build their stable by breeding and attacking with their horse armies. It's a really weird game. It works on synchronous action selection and having to guess what your teammate is going to play and all sorts of stuff like that. And it's print and play. So if you care about horse violence and horse love, then you can go on Board Game Geek and download all the files for Unstable. I'll link that in the next update that I do as well, so you'll be able to jump on and try that. Velvet is a game that's not coming out for a little while, but I'll link more to that in a future update. I think if anyone's interested in future projects that I'm doing, maybe I can even convince Alex to do some kind of limited Kickstarter release on that one as well, if it seems like the kind of game that that would work on Kickstarter. I'm not too sure, but I'll explain more about that in the future. You can always find it on Board Game Geek in the meanwhile. What I was also going to do was, if anyone is interested, do another game against everyone in the chat. So if you're interested in that, then please let me know. Otherwise, I will hang around to answer any more questions and then sign off for the evening. I should also mention, lost places to put all of this stuff. In addition to everything that LongPack has sent me, they sent me this gigantic roll of paper. Ooh, many, many pages. Each of these with particular color, and everything will go to the printer. So at some point, I also have to look through these and tick off every single one of them and make sure that it's all fit together properly and that it all works. I'll put that to the side there for the moment. So yeah, let me know. The way that I did it last time was that in the chat, people could, I asked you to do different actions, and the first person to answer each of the actions got to do them. So if anyone does want to have a game against me right now, then let me know. All right, so I at least have Alex jumping in for a game here. All right, so I'm going to set this up, and I'm going to set up one on the deluxe box. The other on the standard box lid. Oh, thanks, Melissa. All right. I will be playing on the standard card. And you all can play on the family-friendly one. So let's take this, crack that open, and pour these into the bag. I'm going to add 8 Bone Hunter dice to the bag. The first game using these brand new Bone Hunters. And give that a good shake. And, all right, I'll see you later, Alex. And we will take the 4 Nightmare cards and leave them in front of the table. So it is all set up. Whoa. Excellent. I can just fit that in there. Wonderful. So I'll take the first turn here to show you how it goes. And I'm going to reach into the bag. I'm going to pick out, I'm going to move my sleep marker here over to the 4, which means that I take 4 dreams from the bag. The goal of this game, of course, is to get to 15 power. I pulled out 4 dice, 3 reds and a blue. I'm just going to roll lots of reds. So I'm going to take my beautiful dice tower and what did we end up with? Well, nothing good. 1 exhaust and 1 primeval fear. All right. The dice tower was made at home in my garage, just using the template from Etherworks, which is a company in Australia. You probably won't get that in the US or Europe, but I think it's a pretty standard template, and I can always upload the artwork to Board Game Geek if anyone specifically wants it. That way you can just print it off, cut it out, and put it together yourself, just gluing it over the top of a normal dice tower. All right. I'm going to take that, slide it up to 6, and this time take 6 from the bag. Uh-oh. All right, so I have, there we go, 4, 5, 6. Now, I've drawn a Bone Hunter, which means I must roll this. I cannot put it back into the bag. Of the rest of them, I'm going to take these 2 yellows and put them back. I will take my tower, drop these into the front, and score 4 points. Another point from green. A blue eye, which goes down here and forces me to draw and roll one more. Whoa, this is not the best setup for this. Which scores another point. And a green, which goes down here. And now, whenever a green goes down, you are allowed to pick a dream that is on my card and force me to roll it again. The only thing is you cannot pick Bone Hunter dice. I'm not saying that because I really don't want to lose this 4 points, but the rule is specifically there so that Bone Hunter dice, when they are on your board, stay there as they are. They're very high risk. They add a bit more randomness to your game. But if you do manage to score 4 points, then they're relatively safe. So is there anything that you would like me to re-roll, Melissa? Or anyone else who jumps in? That one? Top one. All right. I'll take this one, and I have to re-roll this. And it comes up as a 2 points. Thank you. All right. I am going to leave it there because I have gone up to 8 points, and I don't want to risk any more this turn. So what I'm going to do is end my turn. I take this, I slide it back down there, and I'm going to move this to the side. And it is now your turn. So where do you want to start? 3, 4, or 5? 5 it is. Reaching into the bag, picking out 3, 4, 5. All right. Of the 2 blues, 2 reds, and a yellow, what do you want me to put back? You get to pick 2. Blues going back in. Rolling the rest. And you've ended up with a hunt, a point, which goes down, and a yellow eye. Now, if you want to, you can spend that red to re-roll as many reds that are still in this box as you like. Do you want to spend that to re-roll the hunt or leave it? All right. Hunt goes down there, a little bit closer to death, and the imprisonment goes down here. Now, normally that would turn one of these into an eye, which clogs up your exhaust row. However, you have none, so you're fine. I'm assuming you're going to want to go on to 7, but let me know if that's not the case. Okay, and I have pulled out 7. Uh-oh. All right, so you have a Bone Hunter in there. So you must roll this one. You can put any of the others back, but only 2. So let me know which 2 you want to go back into the bag. Blues again, all right. Pour these into the box. And lose one. I lost a blue. All right. So, okay. So you have green point. You did get one of these shadow marks. which unfortunately doesn't really go into one of the slots. I'm going to put it over here just to remind us that it's there. And I'm going to do these in top to bottom order, even though normally you can choose this, just to quicken up the game here. So the blue one goes in. You have to reach in, grab another one, roll it, and you end up with another point. The green one goes down, and I am going to make you re-roll this red one, which comes up as a red eye, and another red eye goes down. Now, with both of those red eyes, you could pick one of your eyes on your card to move up to here, if you wanted to push yourself closer to being killed and further away from becoming a nightmare. Did you want to do that with any of these? All right, and okay, so calling that done, slides that back down there. And did you want to put any of your eyes back into the box? You can do one eye back into the box. Good idea. All right. So now remember, because you have that shadow hunter there, that counts, or that one counts as a shadow for each of the rows. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to go for 5. I pull out 4, 5, probably getting all these blues because they keep concentrating in there. So I'm going to roll just blues and risk it. And what did I end up with there? 2 points. And a blue eye. That's going down there, making me draw one more and roll. And coming up with a red eye. And I'll push to 7 as well. That's what, 5, 6, 7. And I'm going to put each of these back in. Leave some yellows this time. And roll the rest. So, I've ended up with, very lucky on the points here this game, 2 more. Less lucky on filling up my exhaust. And this imprisonment turns that one into an eye. Once again, loving this unable to sort of move things around on the overlay. Okay, and you know what? I'm going to call that quits and put this back into the box. So I'm on 12. You have a little bit of catching up to do. What would you like to do? Would you like to start on the 5 again? All right. Oop, that's 4 and 5. Putting the blues back in or something else this time? Reds, okay. Both reds going back in and rolling the rest. What did you end up with there? It's funny because I can't quite, I've had to tilt my screen down to show this, so I can't quite see what's on the screen there. So you have ended up with a point, an exhaust, and a shadow. That makes you draw one more, a green one, And it comes up as another point. Nice. Okay. Did you want to push on to 7 or call that quits? Okay. Which one of these would you like to put back into the bag? There it goes. Okay, moving that to the side, pulling this one out. And this time I'm going to go for 4. I'm going to reach into the bag, pull out 4. Lots of yellows this time. And I've ended up with a yellow eye and a blue eye. All right, forcing me to draw and roll one more. If this were another yellow eye. If this were a 3-player or 4-player game, that would have turned me into a nightmare. However, because it's a 2-player game, we still have a one more column left. So I am going to risk it. Why not? Why not go to 6 here? And pull out a whole bunch. I'm going to have to put back, I think, the yellow and the blue, because otherwise it's going to nightmare me up. And I will roll the rest. And end up with 3 points, which does fill the row up. However, there is still 1 turn left, and a red one, which goes down here. I'm going to call that quits right there. I have 15, so you need to get 15 or more on your next turn. Okay, I'm assuming you're going for 5 here. It really is a Hail Mary try and pull this off at the moment. I have 4 and 5. You know what? For 8 Bone Hunters being in the bag, they really haven't shown up much. Which of the 2 would you like to put back? Green and yellow back in the bag, and rolling these. And you got 1 point, 1 exhaust, and 1 primeval fear. Okay. I'm assuming pushing on to 7. All right. Whoa, there are all the Bone Hunters. Okay, so that's 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So you have to put 2 back. You can't put a Bone Hunter back. Which colors would you like to go back into the bag? Greens? All right. Greens are back in. And it could come down to this roll if you get a whole bunch of 4s. What did you end up with? Well, you got a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Another 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. A 1, which pushes you to 15. You did get another shadow mark, which turns you into a red nightmare. And you also got an exhaust, which goes down here. Now, you haven't been eaten, but you are exhausted. So what happens is you would reach into the bag, pull out a random color, and really hope that it's red. So it is a Bone Hunter. well, I guess that's another option I didn't really consider because bone hunters can't be put back in the bag. So, pulled out a bone hunter. These can't go back in, which means you don't lose any points. You become the red nightmare. Thus putting all of that back into the bag. Becoming the red nightmare. And we are currently drawn. So what happens there is a tiebreaker. I'm going to put all of this back in the bag because that doesn't really matter. And so for a tiebreaker, fairly straightforward. We both pick up all of our points and we roll them and see who has the most power. So I'm going to do mine first. I pick up all of those. Put it in here. And what did I end up with? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whoop. That's it. Only 6 points. Oh, one's gone. All right. Pick these up. We'll roll them and see what happens. We'll re-roll that one. And you have ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. Coming super, super close to a draw on that one. To a second draw, really. And an amazing last roll for you there with 8 points just from the Bone Hunters. Thank you so much for playing. And also, yes, becoming the Red Nightmare. So yeah, that's everything. If anyone has any final questions or really anything that they want to mention before I sign off on this, then I'm happy to answer. I'm also going to flick over to Facebook quickly to see if there are any questions over there. It is a super quick game. When you actually know all, like the first time you play a game, you know, it takes you 10, 15 minutes extra normally to read all the rules, understand everything. Whenever you have rules questions, then you can go back to the rule book. It takes a little bit of time. Once you actually know the rules for this game, then it takes you maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes to play a full game, which is pretty much what it was intended for. You're all waiting there for friends to show up. You pull out Lucidity, you have a couple of games, maybe you pull out the Dreamscapes if you want to have some variability in it, the Manifestations if you want a slightly longer game with a little bit more strategy. You pretty much play it how you want to play it. If you're watching this and you haven't jumped onto Board Game Geek in the last update, then I'd definitely appreciate it if you could jump on there and just click the little thumbs up for the nomination to show it as the most anticipated game of 2018. I know we're not going to win, but we are in 20th place right now, which out of 400 games is absolutely crazy and nothing that I expected. But yeah, that would be lovely. Yeah, the Bone Hunter dice are really weird. They are solely intended to add more randomness to your game. So if you like a random game, then add the Bone Hunters, and you can kind of tailor how random you want your game to be based on how many you put in there. So, you never know. If I do ever do an expansion of just the Bone Hunters by themselves, then you can always buy like 6 sets of them and just flood your bag full of them and have the most random game possible. But I reckon there's probably a middle ground somewhere between 8 and 4 that everyone will be happy with, just for that random spike every once in a while, but mostly just having something a bit more strategy to the game. Cool. Well, thank you everybody who stuck through for the whole recording. Like I said, it should be up for the next 48 hours on Kickstarter, and I will try and download it before it disappears to put it up on YouTube. And if I can manage that, then I will link to it in the next update. If there are any further questions, then you can always send them to me as a message through Facebook, Kickstarter, Twitter, really anything. And I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you, everyone. It is nearly midnight here, so I am going to sign off and say goodnight. And thank you especially to everybody who jumped on either super early or super late to come and join us. I really appreciate all of you. And yeah, it was lovely to chat with you all. Good night.